Hello Alexander Technique International colleagues and friends. I'm Glen Park. Some of you will know me from courses and conferences where we've been together, and some of you will know me from my first book, The Art of Changing, which was published in 1989, quite a long time ago. And some of you may even have read my interview with the wonderful Peggy Williams, with whom I had lessons in the early 1980s. So, today I want to introduce my new book, Chakra Healing Therapy, and I want to talk about how working with the chakras has been an incredibly valuable complement to my Alexander teaching. I've been teaching the Alexander technique for over 25 years, and early on in my teaching I found that sometimes putting my hand on a person could have a very powerful emotional or psychological effect. Sometimes a pupil would cry, or they would have a powerful memory surface that seemed to be linked to the muscular tension that I was trying to release. Sometimes the muscle tension didn't respond to Alexander directions, and I felt it needed to be addressed as a more psychological or emotional level. I've met many other teachers who have had similar experiences to mine, so I'm sure there's lots of you out there. Now, looking for a way to tackle this challenge led me to working with the chakras. The chakras offer an understanding of consciousness that is not just brain-centred but whole body centred. The chakras suggest that consciousness permeates our bodies and flows beyond our bodies into the aura. And this fits perfectly with the Alexander technique. We know as teachers that our silent thoughts and directions can influence another person's musculature and their consciousness. My new book brings together 30 years of experience working as an Alexander teacher and a chakra therapist. And I've worked with both techniques separately and together, and I've trained both Alexander teachers and psychotherapists in how to work with the chakras. So I hope I can share a bit of this teaching with you in this video. In fact, one of the main reasons for writing the book was to get my learning and experience out into the public domain, so that other Alexander teachers, other body practitioners, therapists could use it in their work. The book's got case studies and experiential exercises alongside of research and teachings about the chakras. So, what are the chakras? Chakra is a Sanskrit word meaning a wheel or a disc or something circular, and small spinning discs is how they appear to clairvoyants, who can see them shining through the body. The esoteric teachings about the chakras are part of the ancient Hindu tradition, which go back at least as far as the 3rd millennium BCE, and then they are developed through the tantric traditions right up to the present. Some of the early scripts became translated and interpreted in the West in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, and from this a Western esoteric tradition of the chakras has developed. Theosophists such as Alice Bailey and Charles Leadbeater and other famous people like Rudolf Steiner and Carl Jung wrote about the chakras. In this modern Western tradition, there are usually 7 major chakras, and they're understood to be subtle energy centres which interpenetrate the body and mind, connecting the physical, the psychological, the psychic and the spiritual aspects of our being. So, why does working with the chakras, why does it work so well alongside of the Alexander technique? Let's look at the physical level of the chakras first. All the major chakras, except the Crown Chakra, are centered in the spine. This is the deep core of our being. And when we give attention to the spine by working with the chakras, this has the effect of creating a really calm, centered feeling in the person. And it helps the spine to lengthen and the back to lengthen and widen. So I rest my case. It works very well with the Alexander technique. So I'll put some diagrams on the screen. These are two illustrations. Firstly, showing the primary curve of the baby's spine. It's not a picture of the actual spine, it's just showing the curve. As the baby learns to support the head and sit up, this primary curve develops into the primary and secondary curves of the adult spine, which is shown on this second illustration. Apart from the Crown Chakra, the chakras are all centered at important turning points in the adult spine. So going from the bottom to the top of the adult spine, we start with the Base Chakra. It's located at the tip of the coccyx. The Sacral Chakra is at the top of the sacrum, where the primary curve of the sacrum and coccyx turns into the secondary curve of the lumbar spine. Similarly, the next one, the Solar Plexus Chakra, is at the point where the secondary curve of the lumbar spine changes to the primary curve of the thoracic spine. The Heart Chakra is at the outermost point of the thoracic spine. Then the Throat Chakra is at the point where the thoracic spine changes to the secondary curve of the cervical spine. The Eye Chakra is at the atlanto-occipital joint at the very top of the spine, and as I said before, the Crown Chakra is the only one not located in the spine. It's in the pineal gland. Apart from the Crown Chakra, all the major chakras are also linked to nerve plexuses in the body, which you can see from the labels on the left of the diagram. These plexuses help to explain the different types of sensory and emotional experience that we have in different parts of our bodies, such as sexual feelings in the area of the base and sacral chakras, expansive loving feelings in the Heart Chakra area, sometimes stressful feelings in the solar plexus area. All this reminds us that our whole body is conscious in different ways. Also, there are minor chakras at the centre of the soles of the feet and at the centre of the palms of the hands. The feet chakra receives the energy from the earth, and the hand chakras both receive and give out the energy, which shouldn't come as a surprise to us Alexander teachers, because our work involves receiving information with our hands on our pupils and then with our hands transmitting energy or direction. And Alexander described directing as working with energy. It's not the degree of willing or trying, but the way in which the energy is directed that's going to make the willing or trying effective. So, now we know where the chakras are located, I'd like to lead you in a short 5 to 10 minute guided visualization, simply working with the energy flowing through the chakras. I'm going to put an illustration on the screen which gives you an idea of the guided visualization I'm going to do. The chakras are all linked to the colours of the rainbow, as you can see on this illustration. If you have a problem with visualizing colours, just have a sense that we're working with directing energy through the body in the way Alexander describes it in that quote. Okay. Begin with the feeling of your feet resting on the floor and have a sense of your feet being in connection with the earth, with Mother Earth, and that red hot burning centre of the earth is cooling down as it gets to the crust, giving off a red energy which is cooling down as it gets to the surface of the earth. And that red energy is coming into your feet, into your ankles, your lower legs, knees, up through the thighs and into the pelvis. And it's energizing the base chakra at the tip of the coccyx. See the base chakra as a glowing red light source, shining this lovely red light out into the pelvis and out into the aura. And that as we think about this red energy coming through the feet and legs, it's energizing that base chakra, which is glowing more and more strongly, giving out this lovely red light. Now have the idea that the red energy is moving up through the coccyx into the sacrum, changing to orange light as it comes to the top of the sacrum, into the sacral chakra, which is a glowing orange light source, shining out across the sacrum, across the lower abdomen, and out into the aura. So the energy is moving up through the spine, from the coccyx to the sacrum, shining out into the body and moving further up into the lumbar spine, changing from orange to a glowing yellow as it reaches the solar plexus chakra at the top of the lumbar spine at T12L1. See the solar plexus chakra shining out like a sun into the solar plexus area of the body. Have a sense of this glorious sunlight energy shining out from the third chakra into the upper abdomen and out into the aura. And then see that energy moving up to the centre of the chest, changing to a beautiful green energy at the heart chakra, which is at the centre of the thoracic spine, nourishing the heart chakra, which is like a glowing green light source, shining out across the chest, out into the aura. And this lovely green energy flows up into the shoulders, down the arms, and out through the centres of the palms of the hands. Then see this green luminescent energy travelling up the thoracic spine, changing to a beautiful blue light at the throat chakra, which is at the base of the neck, where the thoracic spine changes into the cervical spine of the neck. See this beautiful blue energy centre shining out blue energy across the shoulders, down the arms, out of the hands, into the aura, and also flowing up into the neck, the jaw, the ears. And as it moves up the cervical spine to the atlanto-occipital joint, the energy is changing to a lovely purple or indigo light of the eye chakra, which shines out across the head and out into the aura. And as it moves a bit higher up, it becomes lighter as it feeds the crown chakra, centered at the pineal gland, changing to a pale violet colour and then changing into pure white light as it reaches the top of the head and shines out into the aura. Have a sense of the rainbow colours moving through your body, from red energy coming into your feet, your legs, pelvis and base chakra, changing to orange in the sacral chakra, golden yellow in the solar plexus chakra, beautiful green in the heart chakra, beautiful blue shining out at the throat chakra. And all these colours, especially the heart and throat chakras, flowing down your arms, out of your hands and out into the aura. And then moving up to the purple of the eye chakra and the pale violet changing to white of the crown chakra as it reaches the top of the head and spreads out into the aura. And as that crown chakra energy reaches the aura above it, it's also meeting the spiritual energy of the universe. This wonderful white spiritual energy is now pouring down through us from the universe. Wonderful white light streaming down through the body, through the spine, through the chakras, through the aura, making everything luminescent and scintillating, the whole body being energized and alive. This white light is traveling right down through the body, through the legs to the feet and down into the earth. So you're connecting the earth and the sky. You're connecting the earth and the heavens with the spiritual energy flowing down through the chakras and the earth energy flowing up through the chakras. You're a beautiful prism of rainbow colours between the earth and the heavens. Okay, slowly coming back into the room, maybe rubbing your legs and arms, waking yourself up, opening your eyes. Welcome back. Welcome back to present time, everyone. So, we've looked at the physical location of the chakras. Let's look now at the more psychological aspects of the chakras. I'm going to put a chart on the screen showing some of the important psychological themes for each chakra. The first 3 columns shows the English and Sanskrit names of the chakras, and then the translation from the Sanskrit into English. The Hindu name always suggests the highest potential of that chakra, as you'll see as we go through them. The 4th column shows popular Western keywords for the chakras, and the last column shows the stage of life that links to each chakra. This is important because chakras can be seen as a developmental map of the psyche, with the lower chakras governing stages of life in which we develop our ego or personality, and the heart and upper chakras governing our more spiritual and creative potentials as adults. So, starting at the bottom with the base chakra. The Sanskrit name is Muladhara, which means root support. This fits well with our modern Western idea of the base chakra as the grounding chakra, our connection with the earth. In fact, it is also called the root chakra. Psychologically, the base chakra rules the beginning of life. It governs the beginning of our developmental journey. It's our purely instinctual survival consciousness, the energy of the fetus or the tiny baby, an instinctual animal that's focused upon staying alive. And it maintains all our many instinctual processes throughout our lives. Next, the sacral chakra, Svadhisthana, which means home of the self. And anyone who's looked after a tiny baby will know that there's a special moment which starts at about 3 months when the baby begins to smile back, to respond. It's just the very beginning of a little person starting to emerge, not just a little creature trying to stay alive. So this is the beginning of the sacral chakra opening. It doesn't become the dominant chakra until later in childhood. But the sacral chakra is the home of the self, where the personality starts to develop. It's the part of us that's motivated by a drive for happiness and pleasure and full of sensory curiosity, smelling, tasting, touching, listening, looking and moving, the creative drive to discover and relate to the world out there. And the biggest part of the world out there is the mother, father, siblings and carers. So it's a very relationship and pleasure-driven chakra. Childhood is where we're socialized, so the sacral chakra is where we can experience great gifts and sadly often our greatest wounds. It's a very emotionally driven energy, a time when the emotional limbic system of the brain is very active, which I'll show you in a diagram shortly. The Sanskrit name for the next chakra, the solar plexus chakra, is Manipura, which means city of jewels. And this chakra becomes dominant in adolescence and young adulthood. I like the phrase city of jewels because when a young person is developing their gifts and their self-confidence and they're blossoming in the beauty of youth, they could be seen as a city of jewels, or another name for the chakra, a multifaceted gem. It's a rather looser interpretation of the Sanskrit word. Psychologically, in this stage of life, the major drive is no longer about pleasure and instant gratification, but about thinking about and developing the adult person that they want to become, making complex choices about their future life, studying for exams or developing skills that will serve them. In the West, this chakra is often called the power center, but actually I think it's a lot more about our sense of self-worth, how we feel about ourselves. Some people will focus on achievements and success out there in the world, but other people will develop their self-confidence through caring and connecting with others. It's how you feel inside. This stage of life, transitioning from child to adult, can also be a very challenging time. And with the solar plexus chakra, like the sacral chakra, we can find great gifts and great wounds. I'll now put 2 diagrams of the brain on the screen to show how they link to the 3 lower chakras. This is the triune brain. The reptilian brain is the earliest part of the brain to have evolved in animals, and it's linked to all sorts of unconscious instinctual functions. Then the limbic system evolved, which is more emotionally driven, and later the neocortex, and within the neocortex, the prefrontal cortex in humans, which is linked to our more complex thinking. The reptilian brain is very active during fetal development and during the early months of life, so it links to the time when the base chakra is dominant. In childhood, all the chakras are open and functioning, and the whole brain is functioning, of course, but in childhood the emotional limbic system is very active. This links to the stage when the sacral chakra is dominant. And moving into adolescence and young adulthood, the solar plexus chakra becomes dominant, which is linked to further development that happens in the prefrontal cortex of the neocortex, the prefrontal lobes of the neocortex. Here's another diagram of the neocortex of the brain showing the 4 paired sets of lobes. And during adolescence, there are significant changes to the executive functions of the prefrontal cortex of the brain. And these changes increase our ability to think in complex ways rather than the more binary good-bad feelings mode of the limbic system. So these 3 lower chakras make up the development of the ego or the personality. As hands-on practitioners, these are the chakras that we need to give our attention to first when we're doing chakra work. Just working to develop a gentle flow from the feet through the legs and into the base of the spine and then up through the sacral and solar plexus chakras can give a calming, centering experience to the person we're working with. The next chakra is the heart chakra, Anahata, which means unwounded. This chakra is a game changer. It's our inner healer, where we move beyond the personal ego and experience our ego boundaries dissolving somewhat. It's connected to feelings of unconditional love and acceptance, appreciation of nature, of beauty, and of life itself. It's our inner loving witness and healer. With the heart chakra, we can look kindly upon the wounds of our lower chakras, and this love and acceptance is how we heal. This opens the door to our spiritual nature and enriches our experience of life. There's been a lot of research done into the organ of the heart in recent years. In fact, it's been reclassified as an endocrine gland, and one of the main hormones generated by the heart is oxytocin, which is often called the love hormone. And the heart chakra is the chakra linked to our capacity to love unconditionally. The heart is also a small brain. 60% of heart cells are neural cells with axonal dendritic connections and neurotransmitters, just like those in the brain. It receives and transmits information from all over the body in order to maintain optimum functioning of the whole system. A lot of this research into the heart is done by the HeartMath Institute in California. Here's one of their illustrations. It depicts the field around the heart. The heart generates a magnetic field around the body which is 100 times greater than the brain's magnetic field. This field can be detected 3 feet away from the body. All this gives credence to the idea that we have an aura and that consciousness exists throughout and beyond the body. The heart chakra is central to chakra therapy. The ability to look kindly upon our wounds and our weaknesses of the lower chakras enables them to heal and flow more freely. The healing power of our hands and the healing power of understanding our personal chakra map is a very powerful combination. The upper chakras are all higher expressions of the lower chakras. So the throat chakra is the chakra of communication and creative self-expression. It's a higher expression of the spontaneous creative curiosity of the child. And this is a more refined creativity, very prominent in speakers and artistic performers. The name of this chakra, Vishuddha, means purified. And at the spiritual level, this is where we have the potential to let go of all the ways in which we've adapted to fit into this world, the false self, and express our true self, our purified self. Next, the Eye Chakra Ajna, which means perceive or command, is our chakra of creative thinking and vision, a higher expression of the very self-directed thinking of the solar plexus chakra. It gives us our view of the world and as such commands the way we live our lives. It's very prominent in academics and creative thinkers. And finally, the Crown Chakra, where we have the potential to move beyond thought and feeling into the enlightened realm of spiritual seekers in many traditions. It's a higher expression of the Heart Chakra. The Crown Chakra, Sahasrara, means thousandfold, which symbolises the whole. It's where we have the potential to know pure formless consciousness, and where the manifest world of form and this formless consciousness become one and the same. It's non-duality, and it's a very mystifying concept to all of us. So if we weren't social distancing, this would be the point where I would get everyone working at the tables doing chakra therapy with each other. But we can't do that. So instead, I'm going to do a talk through so that you can do a little bit of work on yourselves. And I apologise in advance if I'm teaching grandmothers how to suck eggs, but we'll just see how this goes. Now, we know where the chakras are located and a bit about the psychophysical level of the chakras. So if everybody's sitting comfortably, as we all know how, let's tune into that. We want your feet flat on the floor, about hip width apart. Okay, so let's begin by placing our hands palms down on the thighs. In chakra therapy, we always start by tuning into the feet, usually with the person lying on the table, sometimes in sitting. And we work with very still hands because we're wanting to feel the energetic state of the feet and the legs and the person that we're working on. So because you're working on yourselves, I can't ask you to put hands on feet. So that's why we're starting with your hands on your thighs, tuning into your legs. So just give attention to what your hands are feeling. Just notice what you're picking up about your legs. With chakra work, we have to develop what I call listening hands, hands that are very good at receiving information from the body. What do you notice about your legs? Do they feel exactly the same? Does one leg feel more contracted, denser, or perhaps heavier or lighter? Sometimes one leg can feel less alive than the other one, or a leg can feel a bit numb and absent, or something else. What do you pick up about your legs? Maybe you've got wonderfully balanced, lively, free-flowing legs. I hope so, sincerely. Nice. So I'd like you to give particular attention now to your feet on the floor. Enjoy the contact with the floor. Imagine the energy of the earth that you're contacting, and that energy is flowing into your feet, through your ankles, your lower legs, your knees, your thighs, and into your pelvic floor, feeding the base chakra at the tip of the coccyx. You can imagine the base chakra as a glowing source of energy, and then imagine the energy flowing out from the base chakra into the pelvis and into the aura. Have the sense that your hands are enabling this process, encouraging the energy to flow. Do you feel as though there's a good energetic connection between your feet and your hands? A sense of flow up through the legs? This could be considered a chakra direction, energy flowing from the feet, through the ankles, lower legs, knees, thighs, and up into the base chakra at the coccyx, and out into the whole pelvic area and the aura. The feet, the legs and the base chakra together form our grounding mechanisms, and it's really important to feel grounded in this work. If there's too much energy work in the upper body without the grounding, it can lead to the person you're working on getting a really bad headache or feeling unpleasantly spaced out and unsafe. Okay, so now having done some grounding, we'll look at the lower chakras. I'm going to put a diagram on the screen which shows the position of the chakras from the front of the body. The different images are chakra yantras, and they're used for meditating on the different chakras in the traditional Hindu tradition. But I'm just showing you them so you get a sense of where the chakras are flowing out to the front of the body from the spine. The first chakra, the base chakra, is at the base of the spine. And obviously it's not okay to put our hands there. So getting a sense of flow and groundedness through the legs and feet is really important in energizing the base chakra. However, if any of you've had cranio-osteopathic work or craniosacral therapy, you've probably experienced the therapist placing a hand under your sacrum when you're lying on the table. And I do teach this. It gives a good connection to the base and sacral chakras, and I teach this on my courses. So we've done the base chakra through the work we've done with grounding. We'll now move on to the sacral chakra. I'd like you now to put one hand on the lower abdomen and leave the other hand on the thigh. This is where the energy of the sacral chakra flows out into the body and the aura from the sacrum. Once again, I want you to listen, to tune in, to sense how this area of your body feels. I think this tuning in is equivalent to inhibition. We begin by doing nothing and just tuning in, accepting non-judgmentally whatever we notice about this area of the body. This non-doing has an immediate relaxing effect on the person we're working on. And then we can give chakra directions. Imagine the flow from the feet through the legs up into the pelvis and the base chakra, and then that energy flowing up to the sacral chakra at the top of the sacrum. Imagine the coccyx and sacrum glowing with energy, and that's filling out the pelvic and abdominal area and spreading out into the aura. These could be called chakra directions. Now, to nourish this chakra, we'll work at the more psychological level. I want you to think about all your favourite tastes, things you love to eat and drink. Enjoy imagining the delight of that food and all the delicious smells associated with the food. Think of other smells that you love, smells of flowers, of woodland, or smell of the seaside. And now think of things that you love to listen to, natural sounds, bird song, or music, or other sounds that you really like your child's voice or the call of a pet, a cat purring. Think about sounds you really love. Now think about how you feast your eyes, things you love to look at. Natural scenes, beautiful architecture, maybe churches or mosques, or paintings you love, or photos of people that are close to you. Now think about touch. First of all, think of ways that you like to touch, like stroking a velvet cushion or a pet, touching another person, or examining a beautiful object with your hands. And now think of ways that you like to be touched, having a perfect Alexander lesson perhaps, or a foot massage, or perhaps swimming with the waves of the sea rushing past your body, or the warm embrace of a hot shower or bath, or the loving embrace of another person. And last, but definitely not least for us Alexander teachers, think of ways in which you love to move. The simple acts of walking, sitting and standing mindfully, or dancing, or swimming, or playing the piano, or some other kind of movement. Think about movements that you love. The other important aspect of the sacral chakra are the pleasures of relating to others. So now think about the people in your life that you feel closest to. Maybe your partner, close friends, family. Get in touch with the pleasure you feel from knowing these people and having a sense of belonging with them. Notice how this exercise has affected you. I hope you might have noticed changes in the lower abdomen as we were imagining the simple sensory pleasures. This is the province of our inner child in the Sacral Chakra. And as adults, we need to be able to nourish this important but very early part of our developing psyche. And in Chakra Therapy, we are able to combine these psychological suggestions with hands-on energy work on the chakras. Okay, so that's the end of this guided visualization. Let your hands and arms rest however they feel most comfortable. Maybe stroke your arms, rub your legs, bring yourself back into the room. So that's an example of how we can work both physically and psychologically with the chakras. We can look at each individual chakra in the way we've just looked at the Sacral Chakra. Let's take the solar plexus chakra. It's very different from the Sacral Chakra, which is all about pleasure and relationship. The solar plexus chakra is more about feeling proud of the individual person that you've become. So suggestions which build self-worth can be introduced when we work on this chakra. In Chakra Therapy, I used the concept of the inner champion and the inner critic. Then they reside in the solar plexus chakra, judging us positively or negatively. To nourish the solar plexus chakra, we need to develop a strong inner champion who feels good about who we are, from what we own, the car, house, clothes, pictures, to what we've achieved, to our personal qualities, and also to challenges that we've overcome, and so on. I often call the exercises for the solar plexus chakra boasting exercises. What we're hoping to achieve in working with the chakras is an increased flow of energy through the whole system, helped by our hands-on work and addressing the psychological aspects of the chakras. All this work involves the compassionate witness of the Heart Chakra, and as the lower chakras flow more freely, the Heart Chakra flows more strongly, and the energies available for the upper chakras to be nourished and develop their potential. But we don't want to lose the grounding of the Base Chakra and the flow in the lower chakras. So I hope this video has aroused your interest in working with the chakras, and I hope it won't be too long before we can all work together without social distancing. As I've already said, I run courses for Alexander teachers on working with the chakras, and I'm wondering whether I could do more work remotely like this. So if you're interested in that, do get in touch. Meanwhile, I hope we all enjoy our first ATI Zoom conference, and it's a great success. And I look forward to working with some of you, meeting some of you in the future. And please do stay well. Goodbye.